Poland. And in Polish, they string a lot of consonants together, and I have no idea how that works.
This is just,
Now, in any case, there were 3 apparitions involved, and I'm going to read this now. A God-fearing woodcutter, Thomas Mikulik, saw Mary and Joseph in resplendent light. The Virgin told him, Thomas, I chose this place myself. Here my son will be honored, and whoever will involve me will benefit from my intercession. She asked Thomas to go see his bishop and request the construction of a church. But Thomas was too afraid to do that, so he didn't go. She appeared to him a second time, he still didn't go. Finally, she appeared to him a third time in a great light, scolding him for not obeying her. And finally, Thomas alerted the village. At first, the townspeople didn't believe him. His priests denounced him, and he had no answer before the judge. In a straight twist of events, the priest died shortly afterwards, and his successor agreed to build a small chapel there to the Virgin. Since then, it has become, basically the chapel has turned into a church and the church into a basilica, so this devotion has come all across the ages. No great miracles happen there, and yet this is an approved apparition. And why? If you go back to the original statement, okay, I chose this place myself, my son will be honored. And that's basically the criterion, I guess, was that it pointed to our son. The next one was in 1608. Okay, so here's the pattern. A Lady of Guadalupe, 1531. Lezijic in 1578, and finally now we're into the 17th century, 1608, A Lady of Saluba in Lithuania, where Mary appeared to 4 children. And again, no names. I have no idea what the names of the 4 children were. But here's what happened. A complete conversion of a Calvinist town in Lithuania, and a blind man was cured. So that's the story. No more information than that. But in any case, it's an approved apparition. The 4 children beheld a beautiful young woman standing on the rock, holding a baby in her arms and weeping bitterly. The town, which had lost its Catholic identity to the Calvinists over the course of 80 years, was restored to the faith. And that's the story of that particular apparition. That's all they have. The next one is in 1664 in Laos, France, Our Lady of Laos, or Our Lady of Happy Meetings. The feast day for that is September 27th. Okay, Lezijic and Our Lady of Saluba, no feast days, but now Our Lady of Laos has a feast day. Okay, the first apparition was, again, as I said, in 1664. Mary appeared to a poor shepherdess, Benoit Ricuvel, and she was 17 years old. The Virgin started appearing to her in 1664 and continued visiting her throughout the rest of her life, over 54 years. Mary told her to pray continuously for sinners. That was the message. No great miracles, nothing spectacular happened, but it's a recognized apparition. The next one was in 1830, so we move now to the 19th century. Our Lady of the Miraculous Medal. Now this is one of the larger recognized from, we go to Our Lady of Guadalupe, which everybody's heard of now, Our Lady of the Miraculous Medal. Mary appeared to St. Catherine Labouré, who was 24 years old. There's a feast day attached to this, November 27th. Miracles and signs. The miraculous medal itself. The prediction of the Paris Revolution in 1871. And the fact that St. Catherine Labourè's body is incorruptible. In other words, it looks today just like the day she died. Okay. In the chapel of the Daughters of Charity at St. Vincent de Paul, Mary showed herself 3 times to a novice, Catherine Labouré. Labouré said she was commissioned by the Virgin to have the medal of the Immaculate Conception struck, or the miraculous medal. And this is now 1830, and there was the feast of the Immaculate Conception had not been, or the Immaculate Conception had not been declared officially. So was this a new revelation? Was this something new? Actually, the church said no, because people have been believing in the miraculous, in the Immaculate Conception from antiquity. So, the miraculous medal was made in order to spread devotion to Our Lady, and that's basically what happened. The next one happened in Rome in 1842, Our Lady of Zion, again a feast day, November 17th. And here a Jewish person, an anti-Catholic Jew in fact, okay, an anti-Catholic Jew, Marie-Alphonse Ratisbonne, befriended by a baron in Rome and began wearing the miraculous medal as a simple test. On January 20th in 1842, while waiting for the baron in a church, he encountered a vision of the Blessed Virgin Mary. It was sufficient to convert him to Christianity. He joined the priesthood and began a ministry for the conversion of Jews. And that's it. That's the whole story. Okay? Again, we have a feast day attached to it, one apparition to one person, again, a sinner, but he was only 28 years old. So that's that story. The next one, 1846, so a short time after that, is Our Lady of La Salette in La Salette, France. Again, a feast day, September 19th. The visionary was one Massim Joar, 11, and Madeleine Mathieu, 14. Only one apparition. Thousands of feet up in the French Alps, Mary is believed to have come to Maxim and Melanie when they tended sheep. A lot of these apparitions are to shepherds. Her appearance in snow, in sorrow and tears, called for the conversion and penance for sins. And that's the summary of that particular. Again, approved, Vatican approved. The next one you may have heard of. In 1858, Our Lady of Lourdes. Here, Mary appeared in a grotto at Messabiu. The Virgin showed herself 18 times to Saint Bernadette. Under the title of the Immaculate Conception, again, Immaculate Conception had not been declared doctorate at this point. She called for penance and the conversion of sinners. There's a long story on Our Lady of Lourdes. And again, the feast day, February 11th. Miracles and signs, numerous healings. Conversions. And again, St. Bernadette's body is incorruptible. It looks like the day she died. So, if you want to believe in Our Lady of Lourdes, you are, again, the church is not saying you have to, but here is a whole series of things going on. If you want to learn more about the story of Lourdes, I recommend an old black and white movie. Jennifer Jones, what's the name of it now? The Song of Bernadette. There you go. I recommend it. It's definitely a period piece. I mean, you have to realize that it was made in the 40s, but it's a beautiful movie and it's a beautiful story. So if you can probably look it up on the web and actually watch it on the web. Yes.
What's interesting is the Knights of Malta recruit doctors and, believe it or not, lawyers to join, and they fly. They have people who have diseases that nobody can explain.
Yeah.
And they have a chartered jet that goes over every year during the feast. And I think it lasts about a week or so. And anyway, the things that happen are just unbelievable.
Yeah. It's just, I mean, they've got crutches and all sorts of stuff all over the place, and people are just, basically been cured on the spot. And a lot of people who have gone there for cures come away without cures. And what's the reason for that? And how does the Holy Spirit determine these things? I don't know, but I know a family who went over, and they came back and they didn't get a cure, but they said it was the most remarkable experience they've ever had. It was life-changing. And nothing happened. He said, I just realized that the person I talked to, he says, I just realized that, I already have my miracle in the person that I was trying to cure. So, the next one in 1866 is Mary Helpeth Christians. It occurred in the Czech Republic, and again, a feast day on January 13th. The visionary was Madeleine Cade, and she's 31 years old. And the miracles and signs were the cure of Magdalene herself and many others at the shrine. She received the vision of Mary in January 13th, 1866, and was immediately cured of her afflictions. She had been bedridden due to a whole bunch of illnesses. Bishop's Commission examined the miraculous event and recognized the healing and its supernatural character. In the period between 1870 and 1885, a neo-Romanesque church was built and was elevated to a minor basilica by Pope Leo XIII, who officially consecrated and dedicated it to Mary. So that site is still there. Mary Help of Christians, again, in the Czech Republic, in Philipsdorf. The next one was in 1871, Our Lady of Hope in Pontmain, France. Feast day, January 17th. One apparition. And the apparition was to, let's see, four students in a nearby convent school. Mary's message was written on a banner and unfurled it from her feet. But pray, my children, God will hear you in a short time. My son allows himself to be moved by compassion. And what happened, basically the miracle, was that the Prussian army, which was advancing on the town at the time, suddenly stopped and turned around and went away. After the soldiers saw a vision of the Virgin in the sky. So Our Lady of Hope, for what it is, the children that she appeared to were 12, 11, 9, and 6 years old. The next one was 1877 in Greifswald, Poland. Our Lady of Greifswald. I hope I'm saying that right. To two children again. One who was 13 and one who was 12. 9 apparitions in total. Miracles and signs, a healing spring, return of piety and devotion to the villagers, and so forth. And Cardinal Wyszynski was cured on the 100th anniversary of its apparitions. So what that's about, I don't know, but I've never heard of it before. The next one I'd heard of, but didn't know anything about, and that was Our Lady of Knock in Knock, Ireland, and that was 1879. So we're still in the 19th century. One apparition, 300 plus miraculous cures. Apparently the congregation saw Mary, Joseph, John the Apostle, and a lamb on a plain altar over the gable of the village chapel, enveloped in a bright light. None of them spoke, and at least 15 people saw it. And that's basically it. The next one you may or may not have heard of is Our Lady of Fatima. It occurred in 1917, so now we're in the 20th century. During a pouring rain, the figures of Mary, Joseph, that's Our Lady of Knock, while tending sheep, again, shepherds, Lucia dos Santos and her two cousins, Jacinta and Francisco Mardo, reported 6 apparitions of Mary, who identified herself as the Our Lady of the Rosary. Again, Our Lady of Fatima is also Our Lady of the Rosary. Mary urged prayer to the Rosary, penance for the conversion of sinners, and the consecration of Russia to her Immaculate Heart. Miracles and signs, a dancing sun, healings, the conversion of Russia. It says here, I don't know that Russia's been converted. But again, Jacinta, an incorruptible body. Okay, Jacinta and Francisco, I believe, are blesseds. They may be saints by this time. But Lucia just recently died. I don't think she's been canonized yet. So the next one occurred in 1932, the Virgin with the Golden Heart, in Belgium, Lorraine, Belgium, has a feast day August 22nd. Again, children, 115, 114, 111, and 19, 33 apparitions. The apparitions occurred in the playground of a convent school to 5 children, identifying herself as the Immaculate Virgin and the Mother of God, Queen of Heaven. She called for prayer and the conversion of sinners. There were some miraculous cures associated with this particular apparition, and a fireball appeared in the sky. That was some other. Okay. Virgin of the Poor, 1933, feast day May 31st. Visionary was Mariette Becco, was 11 years old, and had 8 apparitions. Mary promised to intercede for the poor, the sick, and the suffering. she became the Virgin of the Poor. And finally, the last approved vision by the Vatican is in Gieho, Rwanda. It occurred in 1981, so it's very recent. There is a, I guess this is Swahili, for Mother of the Word, Nina Wayambo. The visionaries were a 17-year-old, a 20-year-old, and a 21-year-old, and I'm not going to attempt to pronounce their names. The apparitions began in November 1981 when 6 young girls and 1 boy claimed to see the Blessed Virgin Mary and Jesus. But only the visions of the first 3, Alphonsine, Nathalie, and Marie Claire, have been received by the bishop, local bishop, and received his approval. Because there were reservations about the other 4 visionaries and the supposed vision of Jesus, the bishops did not confirm the authenticity of either those visions or visionaries. So there's this kind of split decision there. All right, but in any case, that's recognized by the Vatican as a true apparition. Okay, those are the only official ones. There are 16 of them, and I know going through that was pretty boring. But in any case, the 4 that you've heard about, probably Guadalupe, Our Lady of Miraculous Medal, Lourdes, and Guadalupe, and Fatima. Those 4 are the most famous, and those are probably the ones that have inspired the most devotion over the centuries. Other apparitions have been claimed. Most recently, the one at Medjugorje in Bosnia and Herzegovina. This occurred supposedly in, when did it start? I don't have a date. Oh, 1981, the first apparition. Okay, first apparition in around the southwest of Mostar, close to the border of Croatia. Has become a popular site for Christian pilgrimage, and due to reports of alleged apparitions of the Virgin Mary to 6 local children. Okay, it started as 6 local children. Apparently, they still claim to have apparitions to this day, and they're now grown-up people. And at least 3 of them say they have apparitions once a month. They go back to this particular spot and have apparitions. It has become the 3rd most visited site of apparitions in Europe. So it's right up there after Fatima and Lourdes, people going to Medjugorje. Its current rate of visitation is 1 million people a year go to this particular site. Now, it's not approved. The local bishops with authority over this particular site have refused to give credence to the apparitions. And not just one bishop, but a series of bishops. Because this started out in 1981, this particular site was still part of Yugoslavia. And so they've been switched over. There have been at least 4 or 5 bishops since then, and none of them give any credence to this particular revelation or this particular apparition. But the Franciscans who run the church there are staunch believers. Staunch. And they have obviously made enough noise that the Vatican, to resolve the impasse between the bishops and the local priests and the local Franciscans, they established a Vatican commission to study the apparitions of Medjugorje. It was appointed in 2010, and it's finished its work in 2014 and made its recommendations. Nothing has been heard of since. Okay, so nobody knows what's going on with this. Is it a real apparition? Is it not? Again, you are left to the criteria that have been given to you already this morning. You can believe it or not believe it. It's up to you. There have been people who have claimed cures. There, a person, one of the things in an article that Christine gave me, a guy who had supposedly incurable cancer, went to Medjugorje and prayed and came back, and he was clean. He was completely clean, and they had only given him like 3 months to live. And the doctor in the case, again, always people who come up with some reasonable explanations as to why miracles occur. It's been occurring since since the passing of the flood and all the other good things, all sorts of reasonable explanations. It was called a spontaneous, no, what did he call it? When you are cured, supposedly when cancer goes away for no good reason,
Remission.
it's a remission. No, it's called a spontaneous remission. And he said that occurs every once in a while. Spontaneously, the body just takes over and so forth. So it wasn't really a miracle. Well, again, was it or wasn't it? I have no idea. And I don't think anybody here can make any positive statements one way or the other. But in any case, Medjugorje is not an approved apparition site from as far as the Vatican is concerned, or as far as the local bishops are concerned.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can believe it or not believe it. Okay, and let me say this: if it does something for your spiritual life and makes you a holier person, go for it. Okay. That being said, are there any questions?
Gene, I have
Yes, Bernadette.
a couple actually comments. One is I looked up Mount Carmel. It's on the northwestern side of Palestine.
Okay.
And then the other thing is all these apparitions seem to appear in like continents of Europe, Asia, Africa, not Asia, Europe, America, Africa, but none reported on Asia or any of the other continents.
Yeah. And that may have something to do with the fact that Asians keep quiet. I don't know. You know, that they just haven't said anything.
But if you think about where
now,
the Spaniards went, the missionaries went.
Let me say this. I only told you about the 16 that have been approved by the Vatican.
Right.
There were 68, including one here in the United States, in Minnesota. In, I think it was 1880 something. And basically, it was approved by the bishops, so you can believe it if you want. I don't have any information about that particular site. Again, you can look up on miraclehunters.com, it'll tell you all about it. But there have been apparitions all over the world, maybe some in Asia, it's just none of the ones that I've reported. Yes?
So, I don't know how you see it. Medjugorje is not condemned, it's just not spoken of, right?
It's neither condemned nor, or approved. It's in limbo right now.
It's in the middle road.
Yeah, it's in,
But if one bishop says that you should not follow this apparition, do not participate, if you're in another diocese, you obey that bishop if you go visit it, right?
no, that isn't quite true. First of all, the bishop did not condemn it.
No, I'm now on to another apparition, not
Okay.
that one.
Okay,
Let's say,
you are obliged to respect the approval of the local bishop. In other words, your own bishop can have his own opinion, but it doesn't count because it didn't occur in his diocese.
but if that practice of that is in a different diocese, you
Yeah.
must listen to the local bishop
That's correct.
and say, I can't participate because the local bishop said.
Yeah, but the local bishop didn't say he couldn't participate. He simply said it's not worthy, he could not find it worthy of approval. Okay?
I'm thinking of another one.
Okay. If the local bishop came out and says this apparition is contrary to the
Yeah,
faith,
yeah.
then it's, it's not only not approved, it's condemned.
So then you stay away.
Then you stay away. But they haven't made any negative. In other words, the comments have not been positive, but they haven't been negative either. So you're left to your own devices at that point. So you can go to, lots of people go to Medjugorje and get a lot of good out of it, in which case, God bless them. Yes,
Going
Christine?
back to the very beginning, you mentioned about the brown scapular,
Yeah.
that if you wore it and you died wearing it, that you'd go to heaven.
This was for the Carmelites. Okay, it has been since, you really ought to look it up and see what the brown scapular is all about. Devotion first of all, one of these things, if you notice the miraculous medal, who do you find wearing miraculous medal? You don't find nasty people running around with a miraculous medal. And it's the same thing. People who go, wearing a brown scapular is a real pain in the neck. Because the thing is,
Yes.
moves all over the place, and it never stays right. And eventually you take the darn thing off and you throw it away. So what I'm saying is that people who are going to go for that kind of devotion are pretty well you know, on their path anyway. So I'm not really worried about them, let's put it that way.
Is this church approved, or, I mean, those types of things, that if you
The-
do this, or you say this, or you?
When you say, is the church approved? Not necessarily. The church says you can believe it if you want.
Makes you
Okay?
feel good to,
The same thing with the 9 First Fridays and the 5 First Saturdays that are associated with Lourdes and
Good job.
Fatima. You know, you can do it if you want, and it's certainly never gonna hurt you. And again, I don't know anybody who made the 9 First Fridays who I think is gonna go to hell. You know? These are people who are good people anyway. And they're probably, you know, those people who follow these devotions and assure themselves of a place in heaven, probably had a place in heaven set up for them to start off with, so I'm not worried about it.
If it helps you with your spirituality,
Yes,
if it helps you spiritually,
go for it.
believe and grow, then
Go for it.
go for it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Any other questions?
Plain word.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Turn me off.